Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
But it would be nothing.
Without a doubt, James Brown was one of the greatest shining stars that contributed more to this world in terms of music, culture. His story is one for all time. And I can't tell you how privileged I am to welcome his son, Daryl Brown, who is also an outstanding songwriter, musician, a producer. And Daryl is laughing, but I'll tell you, you deserve all of these accolades.
I'm flattered, man.
You know what?
Phil, you crazy.
I am. That was going to be my first question. Are you a little... You know what Aristotle said? You know what he said this. He said that every person has to have a little bit of madness in them. A little bit of madness.
This person got a little bit of James Brown, too. He wasn't talking about madness. Yeah.
Welcome. You know, all week I've been saying that you're coming on tomorrow. It's today. It's right now. It's in right the now. Moment.
It's in the moment.
From my heart. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Pleasure, man. My pleasure, you know.
So
hit me with that first question.
Where do we, wow. Where do we start in talking about your book and talking about why you wrote Inside the Godfather? This is a Waldorf publication that was co-written by Michael Shabriz. Where do we start with this?
Listen, man. The first thing it took me a while to actually do it. You know, I had people telling me, "Oh man, you need to write a book. You got great stories. You got this," and I was like, because I'm really like a kind of private person, you know, and a practical joker. So it was hard. It wasn't easy, but because I've always liked to tell the truth. I never like to bend it or put it this way, because to tell the truth, you have to tell the bad too. Mm-hmm. So you can see, because what happens is that the good always outweighs the bad.
Is that one of your philosophies?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is that one of your philosophies to live by?
Yes. Because everybody's life is a testimony. And once I've, got past, having to say some things, and I said, hey, if he was here, he would want me to tell it like it is.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I decided around 2011, 2012 to start doing it, put it out there. And then I traveled with my father for 8 years. I went around the world with him twice. So who better can write a book but me?
What was that like? What was that like?
Exciting. Sure. See, I came in, I was a drummer for 30 years. And me and my father were jamming one night. We just got together, and I always liked to hear him play his organ. But he didn't play the organ that night. He played the piano. And we sitting down in the living room, and I asked him about that old Vox acoustic that he had. And matter of fact, I don't even think the strings even been changed on that thing. He had that for years. Over my grandfather's house. And I went and I got it, and we just started doing things. He looked at me, he said, because he really didn't know, even though he bought me a drum set in 1968, him and my grandfather, they bought me a drum set, and they bought me a guitar. But when he heard me play guitar, he said, you are going to be my third guitar player.
Wow.
Well, like 2 or 3 nights I couldn't sleep because I knew that was either I'm going to make it.
Sure.
That was a make it or break you thing.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. How did this influence the rest of your life, Daryl?
I've been a musician all my life, and there was 2 people in my life, and there's James Joseph Brown, which is my dad, and there's James Brown. As a matter of fact, he got his doctorate, so you can call him Dr. James Brown. And I was such a Greek fan, too.
Yes.
Even though he was my hero at one thing, but I was a fan. And a lot of people, I just didn't go around and say, hey, my name is Daryl Brown, I'm James Brown's son. I didn't do that because a lot of times that can work against you. And, I decided that, it was that I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that at all. And I had to really kind of keep my own identity.
Yes.
Was the hardest thing because, that's Daryl Brown. Oh, that's James Brown's son. Mm-hmm. And I kind of, you could lose yourself by people doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Did you love your father?
I loved him to death. It wasn't, we were two peas in the pot.
Yeah.
There's only one other child, which was Venetia Brown, who we were only two that really played instruments. Mm-hmm. Venetia was a carbon copy of my father. Matter of fact, she showed me how to use my left hand on the keyboards.
Uh-huh.
And she could sing very well, but, she chose to do other things. And I stuck with it, waiting for my chance to be. See, my grandfather picked me.
How's that?
I didn't know that. My father told me.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah,
No.
He
Yes.
picked me to be in the band. He said, Junior, he said, listen, that boy right there, he said, I'm telling you, that boy going to be in your band one day. That's the one. Huh. And it happened. It happened when I was 40 years old, but it happened.
It happened.
Never say never. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then in the summertime when I was even younger, when I lived with him in Augusta, Georgia, I was working every summer on the road, helping Miss Saunders, Gertrude Saunders, his valet, carry the bags. I shined his shoes, patting other shoes with Vaseline, and that was the first time I ever really, I learned about clothes, and I can iron too. So just like a Chinese laundry.
Folks, if you're just tuning in, we're with Daryl Brown, who, along with Michael Chabrise, have written Inside the Godfather. This is a must-read summer book about one of the greatest of all time, James Brown. Let me ask you, when you were growing up, Daryl, how did your dad discipline you?
All he had to do was look at me. Because I've seen what he done to so many other people. So all he had to do was look at me, and I was straight right up. He never whooped me, but he just, I'm telling you, he has a way of looking at you. Mm-hmm. And you know what? With my children, I do the same thing.
Isn't that amazing?
They straighten right up. I have two girls. Well, they're grown women now. One is 19 and one is 24. And I have a grandson, Braylon Brown. So he's my life, man. He's my joy.
Yes.
But I'd probably be a little bit uncool with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's the grandfather thing. You could just, spoil them and then send them home. I've been waiting for it to do that, because then that way I can tell them, and I'll see what I went through.
Yes, absolutely.
But you guys, my mother used to spoil them and my father and send them home.
I notice in the publicity of the book, Daryl, you say it is a history-changing book about, and then you list drugs, sex, lies, adultery, racism, murder, religion, politics, deceit, lust, bribery, and I'm saying, oh my goodness, how did you do this?
Let me tell you, with every breath of my body, I did it. Mm-hmm. Because like I told you, I struggle with it. I struggle with certain things, but I had to. If you're gonna, you can't tell half of the truth,
right?
Because then it's not the truth.
Right.
You see?
Yes, I do.
And you can even hear it. If you're telling half of the truth, it just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
You have to tell the whole truth, so help me God. You got to tell the whole thing.
What was the toughest part, Daryl? What was the toughest task, challenge for you writing Inside the Godfather? The toughest.
I think the drug issues.
Give us a for instance.
Like, for instance, there was a few things in there. See, they were calling things PCP, right?
Right.
But actually, the drug that he was using was, angel dust. Since 1970, I think he started that, I was told. And there's a difference, but they're both the same. They're both are hallucinating type drugs. So you can't tell. So actually, when they were testing him, they didn't really know what it was, so they gave it the name PCP.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? But it was actually angel dust and vomiting fluid, formaldehyde. You dip your cigarettes in it, and
right.
and those things. And that was the hardest part because, I also struggled with a lot of issues that I had.
Sure.
So it was, what was relieving of it was that everything that I told, when I was actually talking to myself too. And it was a testimony because you know how many people today have been through that.
Yes.
We live in a drug-infested world.
We were talking about that this morning, Daryl.
Yeah, we live in a world that you going. I don't care if it's over-counter drugs. You going for a headache or this or that. So we live in a drug-infested world. It's big business.
Absolutely.
So once I realized that, I said, hey, what rock star you didn't know that didn't use some kind of drugs? Elvis, Michael.
Yep.
The greatest ones use it. So what I was trying to do was make them a testimony to other people to say, well, hey, man, if James Brown did it, and he still, he fought with this and he fought with that and he fought with this demon, I can be something. I can do something. Yes. Because he was just like me.
James Brown, ladies and gentlemen. His contributions to music are out of this world. Now, can you compare his musical contributions to the role he played in modern history?
Well, you have to look at both sides because, see, my father was just as much as civil rights was.
Absolutely.
Every song that he wrote was a message.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open the door, I get it myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather live on my feet than die on my knees.
Yes.
I mean, those things were tested. He would, and see, at the time of the civil rights era, those were some serious words. I'm black and I'm proud. And the thing about that, he caught more slack from both sides, white and black. You see, for that song. Then you had the ones that were very proud. But what he was saying was, you should be proud of everything that whatever race you are, you should be proud of it. It just so happened, I came up to the Jim Crow area, and it was damaging to black men and women and children.
Yes.
So, naturally I'm going to help my people first. But what I meant to say was everybody should be proud of their race. There's so much we have to offer each other.
Yes.
There's so much history and culture, and and that's what he was trying to portray. But people they tend to turn things around.
He had that skill and ability to calm storms of social turmoil, and yet his own personal life was like a tempest.
That's in the book. And that's the thing. It's just strange, man, because what he went through also. Like you said, his whole life was out of control. But here he is trying to help somebody else. But there's a saying, right? And I totally agree with it. If you want to impress me, help somebody and don't want anything back. Just help them. If you want to forget about your problems, help somebody with theirs.
Yes.
Inside
The Godfather, I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be speaking with Daryl Brown, musician, songwriter, producer, son of one of the greatest of all artists in all of history, James Brown. Let me ask you about his inner circle. Were they the best of people or not?
Everybody, the thing about the inner circle, Brad, it's funny because I spent more time with those people that are in the book than I did with my own family.
Mm-hmm.
The Cape Man, Danny Ray, and I've been telling him he's next. He's got to put a book out. He's the most famous MC. He's a legend, the announcer. The one who we call him the Cape Man, Danny Ray.
Wow.
And he told me a lot of stories. He's been with him since 1960.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was surprised that the movie didn't consult with him.
I'm going to talk about that in a moment. I'm going to talk about that. But overall, that inner circle of people, did you admire them? Were they good for Dad?
They were, put it like this, okay? Everybody that comes in your life, whether good or bad, it's all good.
Wow.
Because, see, you attract that.
Wow.
You don't realize that you're actually attracting these people.
You're a spiritual man. You've stretched. You have stretched. Not too many people are able to understand exactly that point that you make. That's a very strong spiritual point.
Yeah, well, but a lot of people today, they want to blame everybody else for their problems.
Absolutely.
So they never learn. See, the whole thing, that's the whole point of learning. You got the good with the bad. So at the end of the day, you can tell, if I hadn't gone somewhere, that's the word. If I hadn't gone anywhere with a certain person, this would not happen. So why did you go with them?
Profound.
You see, at the end of the day, it's just you standing there, not them.
Absolutely.
They didn't kidnap you or pull your hair to do anything.
Yep.
Or drag you down the street. But, you have to take responsibility for self.
Inside the Godfather, folks. By the way, this book is being released simultaneously, and I want you to comment about the Universal Studios biopic, Get On Up, produced by Mick Jagger and Brian Grazer. In your own words, Daryl, you say, how can Universal Studios distribute a movie about my dad without even talking to those who were closest to my dad, including me? It's a great question.
That's Hollywood, man. I knew when they did that, they're creating a fictional character. And I hope they do well. I hope it comes out okay. My father was not no fan of Mick Jagger. He didn't like Mick Jagger.
Yep.
So I'm just telling the truth, and he, see, that movie's been through so many changes, man. One time Spike Lee had it.
Oh, yeah?
And then I talked to Spike Lee, and Spike told me they took it from him. So it's kind of, you wonder what was their motive.
Yes, right.
What was their whole behind that?
What do you think it is?
Look, the movie betrays him in one way, but I betray him in true life.
Wow. This is why you must read Inside the Godfather. I'm going to be giving away a copy of this in a little while. Daryl, oh, absolutely, my buddy.
Thank you, man.
I have 3 or 4 phone calls here. Do you have a minute or so to say hello to some of your fans?
I'll say, look, man, let me tell you, my father told me one time, this is when somebody came and asked him for an autograph, and then he told me that it's my son, and they asked me for an autograph, and I didn't know whether I should do it or not. I'm like, okay, that's your job, But he said, son, when they don't ask for your autograph, then you got problems. So whatever fans I can get, I'll take it.
I love it. Caller, say hello to Daryl Brown.
Hello, Daryl.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, Daryl, the first time I saw your father, and you're familiar with what I'm going to say, was at Bell Auditorium, and after moving from Augusta, Georgia to New York, I stood in line at the Apollo.
Okay.
My question to you, is there a statue of your dad at Bell Auditorium, and is Bell Auditorium a still functioning outlet for people to go to?
Yes, it is. Did you ask me, was there a statue?
Yeah, was there is there a statue there, and is it still a functioning auditorium?
Yeah, Bell Auditorium is still happening, man. That's when you go down there, you see a lot of plays there.
Yeah.
His statue is actually, if you remember, over there by the Commons, across the street in the middle on Broad Street.
Yes.
And I had a problem, because I thought, that he wasn't just James Brown, but he was Universal James Brown.
Yes.
And I thought they should have taken that statue and put it in the Commons.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have a statue, they have a federal, whatever that is, federal Confederate statue or some man on a horse. I don't know who he is to this day. I didn't know it ain't James Brown. Because he was bigger than life. Yeah. He was universal. You see?
Yeah.
He was universal, and he just received.
I'll close with this. One thing you didn't mention about your father is that prior to his music career,
hold on just a second.
He was a boxer.
What's that now?
Prior to Daryl's father's music career, he was also a great boxer.
A great boxer. Yeah. Thank you, Eddie.
Man, let me tell you, boy, he was fast.
He was fast? Fast on his feet, huh?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's take another quick phone call here with Daryl Brown, the son of the legendary James Brown. Caller, go right ahead.
Good afternoon, Phil. Good afternoon, Daryl.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Thank you so much for this moment in my life.
God.
I have a question for you. At the beginning of this interview, you said you were a practical joker. Have you ever played practical jokes on your father? And if you did, which one was your favorite?
No. I didn't say I was practical. I didn't do nothing to him.
Hey, it's between you and me, okay?
Not
I won't
James
tell anybody.
Thank you for the great question. Thank you, darling, for the great. And we'll take one last phone call here with Daryl Brown. Go right ahead, caller.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, go right ahead.
Hey, Daryl, God bless you, and God bless your dad. I mean, I'm one of his biggest fans. I can do the Brown, and when I used to do talent shows at the high school and do the James Brown and all that, and I also saw him in Providence. I saw him in Boston doing the riots. I believe it was 1968, and you took the words out of my mouth, Mr. Universal.
Yes.
Coming back to America. I just listened to one of his albums, the instrumental one, with Try Me and all that kind of stuff on it. I got all his old ones. Ain't Nobody Home But the Chickens and songs like that. Caledonia. I like a lot of the old ones from the 50s and all that. And just a great human being. And Phil, wow, thank you for doing this.
Thank you so very much. God bless you.
I will have this book before the end of the day.
Thank you so much.
Love you. Thank you.
Love you as well. Inside The Godfather by Daryl Brown. And finally, Daryl, before I give you this huge hug of appreciation.
Hey, can you give me that laugh one more time?
I love you, baby.
I gotta get that laugh.
Oh, you've got it already in your heart. Let me just ask you, growing up, experiencing all that you have, Daryl, what have you learned about life itself?
Giving, man. My father was a giver. He told me one time. He said, you're the kind of person that would give the coat off your back at 10 below zero. I said, and I thought about what he said. I'm like, well, apple don't fall too far from the tree.
Wow.
Because he was a giver, man. He was so. I mean, I wouldn't trade anything. Even getting in the band, learning more. Because to this day, I play a lot of guitar.
Yes.
And he told me that I would have that. He said, come on, you're going to have that. Everything I'm teaching you in 5 years. And from that day, he told me. Actually, in 5 years, I knew. I knew how to play. I knew my neck. And I wouldn't change it for nothing. I mean, I caught heck in there. I mean, he was hard on me. Mm-hmm. I mean, really hard. Sometimes embarrassing. Mm-hmm. But that was his way. He took a lot of cats and made them better than what they were. I always said if he was a football coach, they'd be defeated every year.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen,
get the best out of you.
Wow. You want to talk about an inspiration and somebody who is truly in the center of our hearts. Yes, your father, but also you, Daryl Brown. Thank
you so much, man. I really appreciate that.
This has been such an honor. I love you, man. I mean that. I love you in my heart.
You got to have me come on your show, man. Not to talk about anything else, but just... You need a sidekick.
I love it.
I'm gonna get that laugh.
I love it. Oh my God, Daryl! Many blessings. You have been blessed. Thank you for giving us some of them on the air today.
Well, let me say one more thing. I want to tell everybody they can get the book at WALDORFPublishing.com. They can get the book at InsideTheGodfather.com. And my father, The Godfather. It's the same book, but we started to play with that a little bit. And you can also follow up on us on Facebook, Waldorf Press, or you can go, if you got these new age kids like my children, you can download the book on Kindle, Nook, and iBook.
Awesome. Inside The Godfather through the eyes of his wonderful son, Daryl. God bless you, my friend. God bless you. So much, man.
God bless you.
Love you from here. You see this? You see this? Right there, baby.
That's good.
Thank you.
It's the Midday Magazine.
Thank you so very much, my friend.
You're welcome.
God bless you. God bless you. Daryl Brown.